Hello and welcome to our first lesson in the unit conflict resolution. I'm so excited to be welcoming you to this lesson. As you may have figured out already, we at Learn to Love really enjoy using analogies, so we're going to use another analogy here to get you going through this unit. The concepts of this analogy are going to really take you through the unit, and they're going to help you understand more what we mean when conflict arises. It's also going to help you see conflict in an entirely new light. And it's going to be based a little bit on the way our brain works. So take a look. I'm super excited to welcome you. And I so hope that this content is going to be meaningful. Let's begin. I want you to imagine that yourself, your thought, like you, remember we had a relationship car. I want you to imagine that you are a car now, okay? So we have the relationship car, now we have you as a separate car. Now, in your car, there's a passenger and there's a driver. These represent the two parts of our brain. One of them is how we feel, like our feelings, the feelings parts of our brain. And the other one is our thoughts, the thoughts parts of our brain. So for example, if you thought, wow, I think the answer to this calculus question is this. I follow the derivative, I take it through. Thinking, we're using our thoughts, logic part of our brain. That's like more of like our frontal lobe, okay? Our neocortex. Now, there's another part which is the feeling part of our brain. So this is like, you know, when you look at a video of like a really cute dog on YouTube and you're just like, oh, and you just, you like feel it in your chest, you feel it like in your body. That is feelings from hormones from our amygdala, a different part of our brain. And it's a bit more complicated, but those are the main regions. Okay, our thoughts and our feelings. Now, imagine that you have a driver. The driver is one of them, thoughts or feelings, and the passenger is the other one. Who do you think is the driver of the car? Who is the driver of your car? Are you primarily powered through your thoughts or through your feelings? Does the direction of you go by your thoughts or your feelings? This is a really, really big question that's been thought of for like thousands of years, since like Aristotle and Plato. What do you think the answer to this question is? A lot of us say that it is thoughts, that the thoughts are the driver. Like, yeah, we think we act rationally according to our thoughts. And this was like the main notion until the 20th century when people started to discover that people really act based on their emotions. Like, people used to think that stock markets always correct themselves based on logic and reason, that it turns out that people are actually buying more based on emotions, fear of not wanting to miss out or fear of not wanting to experience like a major drop. And this approach of taking advantage of other people's feelings powered a lot of algorithmic traders like Renaissance technologies and from Medallion. Oh, but this is not a trading course, but the idea is actually that it's our feelings that power a lot of our actions. And what is something you can think about to know if it's your thoughts or feelings when you don't do something? Like, let's say that you are just like tired and you just like, I don't know, you don't want to do something, okay? And somebody asks you, why don't you do it? Why didn't you do it? What are you going to tell them? What are you going to tell them? I didn't feel like it. I didn't feel like it. I just didn't feel like it. Guys, our feelings are the driver in the car, and our thoughts are the passenger. This was discovered in like the 80s, 90s, and before. People were doing these kinds of surgeries on people with schizophrenia where they would like disconnect part of their brain that basically like stopped a lot of their feelings. And they couldn't really feel so much anymore. Like feelings, emotions, and they just stopped doing things. Like they became like, I don't want to say lazy, but like they would just sit on the couch and they wouldn't want to do anything. And then they discovered that the doctors discover that actually it's because they don't feel, that they don't do anything. You can't just take away people's feelings. Without feelings, there is no action. Feelings lead to action. Feelings are in control of our car. This analogy, which we adapted a bit, comes from Mark Manson in his book, Everything is Packed. He calls it the consciousness car. I want you to think about it as you, like the you car, okay? Now, why am I bringing this analogy here in conflict resolution? When you understand this, it is going to totally change the way that you think about conflict. If the feelings are at the front, the driver's seat, and we act primarily based on how we feel, then that means that in a conflict, the car is going to be like, it's like the person in the car floored the accelerator and the car is going down the road like crazy. This is what happens in what Daniel Goleman in his book Emotional Intelligence, he also talks about it in Social Intelligence. Lots of really interesting topics there. An emotional hijacking. This is like when our emotions are so out of control and they just take us and propel us forward. And what happens is when people get very emotional, very, very like aroused emotionally, we try to talk to them with logic. We say things like, oh, well, that's not a good idea. Like, that's not rational. You know, they're not being rational. But guys, you're trying to talk to the passenger. You are trying to talk to the passenger when the driver is flooring the car and going out of control. That's not how it works. You have to talk to the driver to get the car to calm down. Stay tuned in the next lesson. We're going to talk about this concept more.